Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for the second session in Aracari's 2025 Masterclass series for our global travel partners. We're just going to take a moment or two to let everyone arrive before we begin. But to give you a brief overview, today's session is all about the kind of travel that goes far beyond the typical. So we're going to explore how to design specialist journeys in Peru, ones that are always built around your client's passions, whether that's food, art, history, wellness, nature, or something else entirely. So before we get started, just a quick introduction. I'm Alice, Aracari's marketing lead, and I oversee everything from guest communications to brand storytelling. So if you receive our newsletters into your inbox or seen us on social, then there's a good chance our paths have already crossed. Just a few housekeeping notes too before we dive in. So this is a webinar format. So there's no need to worry about your microphones or cameras. You're here as our audience, and it's wonderful to have you with us. If you have questions during the session, which we hope you do, and we encourage you to think about all sorts of questions, feel free to use the Q&A box just at the bottom of your screen. I'll be keeping an eye on them and we'll answer them at the end. And just to note that we're recording today's session, so the full replay will be sent to you all and anyone who's registered by the end of the week. We're also joined by two of our senior team members. So we have Mark, one of our senior travel designers, and Juan Jose, Aracari's product and experience manager. So they'll be on hand to help with any of your questions at the end. So with that introduction, I'll hand over to Marisol Mosquera, founder of Aracari, to guide us through today's conversation on designing specialist travel in Peru. So Marisol, over to you.
Thank you, Alice, and hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here for another session in our exclusive series of webinars designed for our trusted agent partners. Today, we'll be diving into specialist travel in Peru, that is, designing journeys not just around famous landmarks, but around people's passions. Whether that passion is art, gastronomy, wellness, nature, archaeology, or a combination, we create experiences that speak to the heart. At Aracari, we spent nearly 3 decades building a network of relationships that allows us to offer rare access to Peru's culture, nature, and creativity. With me today are Mark and Juan Jose, our 2 key members of the Aracari team that Alice has introduced, and they will join me for the Q&A at the end. So please pop your questions in the chat or the chat box or the Q&A, and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So why is Peru perfectly suitable for specialist travel? And the reason is because Peru is a spectacularly diverse destination. It is one of the largest and most geographically diverse countries in South America, bordered by the Pacific Ocean on the west, Ecuador and Colombia to the north, Brazil and Bolivia to the east, and Chile to the south. It sits firmly within the tropics, yet its landscape is anything but uniformly tropical. With over 80 of the world's 117 recognized life zones, it includes coast, mountains, and jungle, all accessible within a single trip. But it's not just about the physical beauty. Peru's deep cultural history, from ancient civilizations to vibrant modern cities, makes it ideal for travelers who want to connect more personally and more profoundly. Specialist travel has become more relevant than ever. Travelers today crave something beyond the bucket list. They want journeys aligned with their values, their interests, and their own story. And Peru provides the perfect canvas for that. Over the years, we've seen clients change the purpose of their travel, seeking healing, learning, creativity, or reconnection. Whether they're celebrating a milestone or pursuing a passion, Peru allows us to build, tailor, intentional, transformative experiences. Curated themes of travel can be art, food, wellness, and more. To start with art and design, Peru's art is ancient, evolving, and thriving. Ancient because it is the home of at least 90% of the archaeology of South America, which includes monumental buildings in adobe and stone, second to none urban landscaping, ancient gold metallurgy, and ancient ceramics and textiles in the Americas. Some of the most ancient ceramics and textiles in the Americas. Peruvians forever have been masters of craft, and they still are. We begin in Lima, where we can arrange private visits to leading galleries and behind-the-scenes tours of private collections, both traditional art, modern and contemporary. We also organize intimate conversations with artists in their studios, giving guests a personal understanding of contemporary Peruvian art. Street art is very popular with our guests, offering the possibility of deep dives into the lives of unique personalities and their expression. Hands-on art experiences in Lima and Cusco are popular for those guests who actually like to delve into the craft and those traveling as a family and in search for a more interactive experience. Or learning about the traditions of rainforest people through their art and music, connecting with the Shipibo community who live in the banks of the Ucayali River and whose craft have now penetrated the highest level of fine arts. Peru's textile heritage is also world-renowned. There are many ways to explore it, be it in private collections, specialist museums like the Amano Museum in Lima, or in action. In the Sacred Valley, for example, guests can meet master weavers who demonstrate pre-Columbian techniques, dyeing with native plants, spinning alpaca wool by hand, and weaving with symbolic iconography. Guests can take part in these workshops, gaining an appreciation for both the craft and its cultural meaning. In Cusco, we explore art through architecture, from Inca foundations to Baroque cathedrals to neoclassical colonial homes. One recent guest, a European interior designer, described their trip as a living museum of human creativity. Throughout Peru, Aracari has a network of artisan partners who are present in our own Aracari shop or online curation of Andean luxury, which you can enjoy at home or during your travels. From textile art, photography, gold and silver jewelry to alpaca ponchos and organic cotton throws, the Aracari shop encompasses the best of Peru's craftsmanship, and you can enjoy visiting the creative studios of many of the artists during your travels. In terms of cuisine, well, there is so much to say about Peru's cuisine. As you probably have heard, Peru is one of the top dining destinations in the world with 5 restaurants in the world's best. And why? Peruvian cuisine in particular is a world unto itself. Drawing on coastal, Andean, and Amazonian ingredients, and shaped by centuries of fusion, it's no wonder that Lima has become one of the global capitals of gastronomy. And it's just not fine dining, because throughout Peru, even a humble market stall can serve a world-class dish. And there are many ways to explore Peru's delicious cuisine. In Lima, we secure reservations in Central, Maido, Coya, and beyond, but we also guide travelers through local markets with chefs, take them into kitchen workshops to learn to prepare ceviche or lomo saltado or other delicacies, and arrange demos with renowned chefs. In Cusco and the Sacred Valley, guests can dine on hyper-local farm-to-table cuisines at boutique haciendas or cook over open flame with a local family. The north of Peru boasts the best regional cuisine in the country, and there too we will be able to arrange authentic tastings in markets and local eateries. In the jungle, Amazonian ingredients like camu camu, paiche, and wild mushrooms make for an entirely different culinary dimension, which you can taste in the wonderful cruises in the upper Amazon. And it's not just about eating, it's storytelling through food. We've had clients trace the ingredients of a single dish back to its farmers, fishes, and foragers. And then there's wellness and spirituality. Peru is a place of ancient energy and natural balance. For wellness seekers, it offers more than luxury. It offers stillness, meaning, and reconnection. We enjoy long-standing relationships with local Andean shamans to offer authentic rituals such as coca leaf readings, despacho ceremonies, and mountain blessings. These aren't performances. They're intimate, respectful, cultural experiences guided with care and purpose. We steer well away from the trendy or Instagrammy opportunities. Wellness travelers can stay at retreat lodges in the Sacred Valley, take part in yoga overlooking Inca ruins, practice forest bathing, hike in silence, or soak in natural hot springs. We also design digital detox programs and creative wellness itineraries combining journaling, movement, and healing foods. One guest, a film producer recovering from burnout, described her trip as a pilgrimage towards stillness. She spent her time meditating, learning from shamans, hiking, and slowly reconnecting with her body and the earth. Peru is one of the 10 most biodiverse countries in the world. For travelers drawn to nature, we create immersive experiences in the rainforest, the Andes, and along the coast. Our naturalist guides, many of whom are biologists and conservationists, reveal the ecosystems of the Amazon, where travelers can explore via skiff, canopy walkways, or jungle hikes. We design experiences for birders, wildlife photographers, and nature lovers, tailored to the level of interest, or the general curious traveler. Some guests want to spend more time hiking and climbing observation towers. Others want a soft introduction to nature, perhaps on a luxury Amazon cruise. Along the coast, travelers can visit marine reserves to see sea lions, penguins, and migratory birds. And in the highlands, the condors that soar over canyons, while llamas graze beneath snow-capped peaks. For those who care about conservation, we can arrange meetings with researchers working on the rainforest regeneration, sustainable agriculture, or endangered species protection. These aren't just nature trips, they're opportunities to connect deeply with the living world. And Peru's dramatic terrain invites active exploration, but activity doesn't need to mean intensity all the time. We offer tailored soft adventure for all ages and fitness levels, including horse riding in the Sacred Valley, gentle walks through archaeological sites with historians, biking between Andean villages with lunch stops along the way, kayaking and paddleboarding on high-altitude lakes. Most adventurous travelers who have heard about hiking in the Andes ask us about the Inca Trail, which is a wonderful, one-of-a-kind 4-day trek, which allows you to explore archaeology on the way that is only reachable on foot. But in Peru, there are many options to trek and a multitude of different hikes of different durations and difficulty levels. For intrepid travelers, we lead multi-day camping treks to Choquequirao and Ausangate, for example, and some opt for lodge-to-lodge hiking with gourmet meals and hot showers at day's end. Others prefer tented journeys, reaching seldom visited Inca ruins deep in the mountains. All active travel is planned with altitude, pace, and support in mind. We brief every guide carefully and adapt to how your clients feel day by day. So, the art of seamless itinerary design. A specialist itinerary is like a well-composed symphony. It flows, it has moments of wonder, rest, surprise, and crescendo. We consider not just geography, but intention. For example, if a guest is traveling for renewal, we wouldn't start with a 3-day museum blitz in Lima. We may begin in the Sacred Valley, surrounded by silence and nature, and build the journey from there. We consider altitude adaptation, especially when going to Cusco, Lake Titicaca, or the Andes in general, regional transitions, minimizing long transits, blending interest, art in the morning, food in the afternoon and night, matching personality and pace to place. Some of our favorite combinations include Lima, maybe a private art gallery tours and fine dining, Sacred Valley textile workshops, soft hiking and spiritual rituals, Cusco, historical walking tours and personal storytelling from locals, in the Amazon, luxury cruise with a biodiversity immersion and quiet reflection, Arequipa, Colca, and Lake Titicaca, overland exploration into high-altitude Andean terrain. We also include downtime, unexpected moments of quiet, and personalized touches. Whether that's afternoon tea in a private garden or a surprise gift of handmade chocolate, these are details that make a journey unforgettable. So no, not every client says, I want a trip based on art and food, but many show us if we listen carefully. So we ask, what do they love to do when they're not traveling? How do they describe their ideal day? Are they collectors, explorers, connectors? Do they care about sustainability, privacy, discovery? One agent once described her client as a curious introvert who loves beauty. That was all we needed. Her journey included gallery visits, sacred rituals, private gardens, and moments of solitude in nature. Another advisor mentioned her client liked quiet moments with meaningful people. Her trip was crafted around one-on-one storytelling, an afternoon with a textile master, a hike and potato tasting with a family of organic farmers to learn about their traditions. Understanding the emotional tone behind their words helps us design a trip they didn't even know was possible. So, how does Aracari deliver? We don't just book trips, we craft personal, handcrafted journeys. We provide access. We work with a circle of scholars, chefs, healers, and artists. These are not general guides, they're individuals with deep roots in their field, sharing their lives and work. Insight, we match guide personalities to client types. If someone is reserved, curious, sensitive, we'll find a guide who complements that energy. It's part of our secret sauce. Support. Our process is responsive and transparent. We acknowledge all inquiries within hours and aim to deliver proposals between 24 to 48 hours. During travel, guests are supported by our concierge team on the ground and through a dedicated WhatsApp group. Delivery. We control quality. We know every guide, hotel, and experience intimately. We do test runs, visit sites, and refine every element continuously. Your clients will never be left in the dark. With Aracari, you get peace of mind, creative vision, and on-the-ground excellence. And please don't forget, it is our mission to make trips a success, and you have peace of mind. And this is our goal. So thank you for being here today. And I'd love to now give Alice, see if there's any questions. Thank you for your attention.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, we invite everyone to ask questions throughout now and around the content around specialist travel. So we have the first one here that's asking around how does Aracari contribute to sustainable development and the well-being of local communities they work with when we're offering these kind of, you know, insider access to authentic cultural experiences? How do we ensure that we're contributing to the well-being and sustainable development?
I'll answer that because I'm actually the person who's more involved with the sustainability aspect of the company. How do we try to buy local always to involve people and empower them to be part of the equation so that they receive you know, the kind of treatment that they should. So it's how do we ensure by giving back to projects that a lot of our vendors and partners promote, because the grassroots projects we believe in, and employing local companies as much as possible. So that's always been our ethos. And you know, it's a culture of caring about and everybody that we employ. And yes, and we have a long-standing relationship with all of the people that we work with. We've been working with many of our guides and vendors for more than 2 decades.
Great, cool. Okay, so we've got another question that's around how much lead time do you need to organize some of the most sort of exclusive private experiences? I guess maybe some things like the conversations with artists and things like that. How much lead time do we usually need to organize those and put that together?
Juanjo, maybe you want to answer that.
Sure. Usually, the more time in advance, the better, because all the people we have access to, they don't really live off tourism, so they have their own private agendas. So usually, months in advance would be better, but we will always try to, even if it's a last-minute thing, to get access to them, and many times they are available. So we're very flexible, but obviously a couple of months in advance would be better.
Yeah, cool. One here about wellness retreats. So which are the most exclusive wellness retreats in Peru, and sort of what makes them unique compared to other wellness retreats outside of the country and other parts of the world?
Well, Juanjo, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to answer, or would you like?
Sure. There's wellness retreats all around Peru, especially in Sacred Valley. There's many places to have wellness experiences. For example, there's one we've used many times, which is called Wilcatica. They specialized in wellness retreats and programs, and I would say the Sacred Valley would be the destination specialized on wellness things.
Yeah, I think that it's important to qualify what wellness is, first of all, for people. And of course, there's wellness retreats. It's the standard places that you have a luxurious place where you've got access to spa and that sort of thing, and treatments and holistic treatments. Peru doesn't have the sort of spa retreats that you find other places like maybe India, or there's one very famous one in Spain and other parts of the world. That is not the focus of what we consider like wellness. It would be more like healing aspects, the understanding and the understanding of the medicinal content of foods, herbs, that sort of thing, and also being with healers and shamans and that sort of thing. Of course, we can incorporate all that into a series of experiences in lovely hotels. But as a retreat per se, I mean, Juanjo has mentioned the most important one, the one that is dedicated to hosting groups, to doing ceremonies and yoga, that sort of thing, in the surroundings of the Sacred Valley, which is very beautiful. But I think that wellness reaches much more the aspect of spirituality and healing for people who come to Peru. And that we can achieve by a series of experiences carried out in different parts of Peru. And finally, there's one very important point, which is the ayahuasca ceremonies. I mean, ayahuasca, which is the hallucinogenic plant that is from the rainforest of Peru, that has world acclaim, and it's a world unto itself. So if you had, we don't generally like to promote that, but if you're interested, we'll be very happy to answer your questions. And that also fits into the healing aspect.
Yeah, great, perfect. So then we've got another question here, which is something we touched on, but just could we expand a little bit on, we mentioned, that we offer private visits to art studios, but also the private collectors' homes and things like that. Would we be able to expand a little bit on what that looks like, and, mention some experiences that we have available in that context?
Well, and Juan, I'll pass on to Juanjo because he's more in touch with the day-to-day of the product development. But we are in the know of some of the most prominent collectors in Peru of contemporary art, traditional art, and modern. And it's a matter of going and visiting their collections. And we've got access to their private homes with their collections. But there's other specialty museums. I think, Juanjo, you organized something recently in one of those projects, didn't you?
So yeah, it's what you say. It's we have the access, and it depends on the client desires to see if it's just a short visit or if they want something a little deeper. And we've recently organized a cocktail in a private collector's house with him and some of his friends, which are also art collectors. And then we set up a cocktail with them, and it was a bit longer experience. So it basically depends on what the client is looking after, and we can organize based on that.
Cool. So switching over to adventure now, someone's asking around horse riding in Peru. Obviously there's other probably neighboring countries that are more well known for horse riding, but just explaining what the experiences looks like for people if they're interested in riding in Peru.
Mark, you want to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, horse riding in Peru, I mean, there's various options. In the Sacred Valley, we partner with different hacienda ranches, which offer day trips on horseback. Also, the Colca Canyon is an interesting place for horse riding. It's generally day trips rather than multi-day horse riding experiences like you might find in other parts of South America. And also the Peruvian Paso horse is very, very famous, and we can arrange visits to demonstrations to see the horses perform, so to speak, at private haciendas and ranches in Lima and along the Peruvian coast.
But,
So
what's important is that because we do all other parts of South America, what's very important is that where it wouldn't be the go-to place, Peru, if you wanted to do horse riding. You could do it as a complement to your trip. As Mark said, it would be a day trip to just see the landscape from the horse. But, Peru has very difficult terrain in the highlands, and there's very rocky and very steep. So there isn't that much of like open areas for cantering and galloping as you have in the Pampas in Argentina. And so also the Paso horses are coastal horses. And so when up in the mountains, they just walk. And the horses from the mountains are tiny horses. So it's not horse country, but you definitely can ride and have a good time.
Great. Cool. Right, well, if there's anyone has any final questions before we start rounding up, or if you want to just drop a topic in there that you want us to expand on, please do so now because we're just wrapping up. But as I mentioned at the start, we'll send the recording to you of this. And also, if you joined last week's, that recording is also now available on YouTube, so you'll be able to check that out there. And as we mentioned last week as well, when we send that, please feel free to share feedback, comments, topics that you think we should cover in the future. We really value your input and guidance on what you want to hear from us as specialists. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you to our panelists, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Alice. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.